Good morning, everybody. Getting myself adjusted here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. Today is Sunday, July 16th, 2023. And from my personal perspective, we are at one of the most epic weeks of the year. What I'm going to do today is I am going to talk about the transits, and then I'm going to go through each one of the signs and do what I call an angel reading. We'll pull one tarot card and then go into the angel deck for each sign. This is based on whole sign Western astrology. So if you don't know your rising sign, so when I talk about Aries, I'm talking about Aries rising. If you don't know your rising sign, please go to any one of the free birth calculators. You just need your exact time of birth and your location in order to determine that information. I also highly want to suggest that you check your moon. These nodes are the moon's nodes. And I think this is very powerful because while they represent a karmic dynamic, they represent karmic choice. So we are very much have power over this, or have influence, have intention during this time. So this is important. So I want to say good morning, Katerina. Good morning, Sunshine Anya. Good morning, Flamingo. Good morning, Gita. I sent you some emails, been waiting your reply, Gita. So check your spam if you haven't received them. Flamingo, it's good to see you. Lammy girl, it's good to see you. You did actually catch me live. So the other thing is we have a new moon tomorrow. And I just want to bring that up. New moon in Cancer. I've done a separate video on that, so check that out. But let's talk about how this week is going to start, because I think one of the really powerful things here is this week is started, and we've already been feeling the influence of a yod. And a yod is what they call the finger of fate, the finger of God. It is a focal point where the fastest moving planet is in quincunx to two planets that are in sextile. So a quincunx is where two planets are sort of, I think of it sort of like a blind spot. It's where you think you're speaking the same language, but it's not resonating that way. There's a sense of not really seeing the other person's point of view, not really getting, or I should say when it's the planets, but it often is in relationships, because the Venus is the focal point at 27. Today she's at 27 degrees of Leo. She is going to retrograde on the 23rd. So she's stationing the whole week at this about 27 degrees. And then she's also conjunct Mars as Mars has moved into Virgo. The quincunxes are between Pluto retrograde at 29 degrees Capricorn and Neptune retrograde at 27 degrees of Pisces. So what I believe is this is a really wild opportunity to look at how my relationship with money, my relationship with women, my relationship with other people, my relationship with myself. Am I using my talents? Am I expressing myself? Where am I in relation to me and my self-worth, my value, my excitement for what I have to birth on this planet? Because Pluto has been offering us a tremendous transformation, and retrograde at 29 degrees Capricorn is that Leo degree, the degree of the master number of thought for me. 29 reduces down to an 11, and Leo rules the heart. So here I am being asked to have courage of the heart, to use my talents, even if for some reason I have trepidation about what transformations or how other people will respond to my new perspectives, my new intentions, my more vocal intentions. So this goes on from, it started on 7/11, 2023, and it's going to be felt all the way until August 1st. So the whole second half of July. And this is being felt while the nodes are shifting into the Aries Libra axis. And the South node is ruled, meaning When it goes into Libra, it will be ruled by Venus, and Venus is the focal point of this yod. So while this is a bit of a tense energy, it's also an energy that offers reward. So I want to bring that up because we know at the same time that Pluto is in square to the nodes. It has been in square as it was in the last degrees of the, or is in the last degrees of the Taurus Scorpio axis, and it will continue as the nodes move into those late degrees of the Aries Libra axis. I'm going to do a separate video tomorrow. Be on the lookout for that, where I go into the dynamics of the nodal shift much more in detail. But I want to just bring that up because if for some reason this week feels as if your own self-worth, you feel a sense of resistance from others, or you're trying to, sort of explain your vision to someone and it's not quite resonating, I think this is an opportunity to sort of sit back and look at the platform with which you're birthing or thinking or expressing this. Because if for some reason you're expressing it with a hope that somebody else will see your point of view, validate your point of view, and then your point of view is worthy, then there's going to be a little bit of a challenge going on here. Venus is also in a trine to the north node, and she's in a sextile to the south node. So again, this feels like a really pivotal moment to be standing in awareness. I don't have to have made a shift. I just get to look at the situation and really ask myself, am I brave enough to start to put focus on where I want to be, what I want to live, versus where I seemingly think that there is safety or structure or some sort of security, because it may be just the opposite, and that could very well be the blind spot from Venus to Pluto. Neptune here in Pisces could be where I keep hoping something's going to shift, but it really doesn't, because it's caught up in some sort of illusion or some sort of I want to say addiction energy. So that's super powerful. And again, we're going to feel it the whole second half of the month. Today through the 19th, Mercury is going to be at 2 degrees Leo, squaring Jupiter at 11 degrees of Taurus. And the first thing I thought of when I saw this transit and the yod that's in play is, are you good enough? Have you studied enough? Do you know enough? Are you bright enough? Will people like you? And having all my monkey mind go kind of off the rails is asking me even more so to anchor into my willingness to be brave, to birth myself and allow for the journey of that birthing. And I want to offer, if anybody has ever seen an animal or a person be born, it is an arduous process. And frankly, it looks very painful. I've never given birth to anything physically, so I don't know the experience, but so to expect ease might be actually another way of tripping yourself up. So if you're gentle with your mind, Mercury being at 10 degrees is giving us that Capricorn energy, that old structure, that old history. And then Jupiter is at 11 degrees, which is that Aquarian degree, the revolution, the new version, the innovation, the 2.0 version. On the 17th, we have a new moon in Cancer. I've done a separate video on that. I hope y'all will take a minute to check that out. And at 10 a.m. Pacific time, thereabouts, we will see the nodes shift. And I think this is super interesting because by nature, the nodes will square the new moon. All the cardinal signs here are having some action. And I think what this is offering us is sort of a moment to look at, because Cancer is my intuitive body. It is the healing energy. I want to sort of take it out of the maternal energy right now and think of it is truly a healing energy. And in doing so, am I allowing for a healing from me or within me? And if I'm allowing for a healing, am I expecting that healing to look as if the wound never happened? Because if you're looking for that, you're going to be challenged. You're going to be frustrated. So rather than trying to eradicate, erase the wound? How do we turn it into something that allows us to blossom from it? It's the wound that creates wisdom. So I think this is important because the nodal shift is really an opportunity to start to, with the North Node in Aries, it's a very much a brave energy about birthing a new version of yourself, and also being very aware of where anger, frustration, impatience has gotten in your way and tripped you up. Because that's very Aryan. But anyway, we'll go more into that in the separate video. On the 19th, I think this is a very powerful day because the moon is at 20 degrees. The moon moves very, very quickly, but it's going to be in a trine to Chiron. And Chiron is stationing at 19 degrees, but here on the 19th, it's at 19 degrees 57 minutes. So it's almost exactly trine the moon. And to me, this is super important because it could bring up a lot of the ideas of am I, the Leo energy of, am I truly allowing my heart's desires to be birthed? Do I believe in the things that I want? Have I aged myself out? Where there's a requirement of courage here with that Leo energy here at that 20th degree. And I want to offer it this way because these intense emotions may bring not a resolution to the emotions, but an awareness of how much time you spend thinking about them, how much time you spend chewing them or reviewing them, living them, and you're reliving them more in your mind than you are in the physical world. And in that moment, are you actually maybe participating in the lack of integration? And you may be right about something. Oftentimes when we're hurt, it doesn't mean that we're wrong when we allow that hurt to transform. It actually could mean we're standing in a much more aligned vibration than we realize, because the wound transformed to wisdom will be what will give those a feeling of excitement about the discovery of the new me as we walk through this axis of Aries Libra, and there'll be eclipses throughout this whole time. So I think this is a really powerful day. Be mindful of that. On the 20th through the 21st, Mars will be at 6 degrees Virgo in a direct opposition to Saturn retrograde, 6 degrees Pisces. And here I almost felt like Saturn was really bringing back all the old stories. It could bring, we know Venus has been transiting through Leo, which could bring back old loves, old issues with women, friendships, etc. And with this opposition, I felt like Mars at 6 degrees, and that's the Virgonian degree, in opposition to Saturn, was bringing up my history. And am I really willing to be, it is what it is, or as they used to say, bygones. Some situations, some people will not shift. And if we're sitting in an energy of, I can't be happy until you change, or this situation changes, or I can't be happy until the money comes in, or I can't be happy till I get a new job, then inadvertently the focus is on the challenge versus the solution. And here I think there's going to be some sort of illumination of that. There's going to be something where my old story comes up again, and the idea that the yacht is in place. We've just had a new moon in Cancer. Am I willing to self-care if those around me are not joining in on the party of my self-care? Because I think this is super powerful, because the end of the week, we have a grand cardinal square involving the sun. So this will only really take place for a day, but I find it wildly important because this is at 29 degrees. So we have the sun at 29 degrees Cancer, representing the 4th house, right? Representing home, hearth, our story, our history. We have it in opposition to Pluto, retrograde in Capricorn in the 10th house. And this is giving me an opportunity to really look at, am I willing to allow the season to end? The Capricorn season rules winter. And I feel as if in this dynamic, there's an opportunity to see that there's a natural cycle to things, and maybe this is an opportunity to allow winter for a situation, even though it may not be resolution to it. We have the North Node in Aries representing spring in the first house at the 29th degree, and then we have the South Node in Libra, it representing the autumn, the harvest. In the seventh house. So the way that this kind of looks to me when I put it representing the seventh house, that's what these houses in your natal chart, it'll be different. But I want to say it this way because I think the North Node is offering a new birthing of ourself. I think right now the Libra energy is asking me with the South Node there to be egoless about the transformation of relationships or dynamics that no longer serve my evolution, my blossoming, my expression on this planet. So with me too, there's a, hold on my throat. With this, oh my goodness, with this grand cardinal cross, also known as a square, there's an opportunity to initiate something, but it is initiated through tension. It is initiated with a sense of unknowing, with a sense of having to go out and literally pioneer the landscape and trust my instincts versus what I know from my brain about the situation or the dynamic or the people. This is a big opportunity for rebalancing. We're looking at this grand square. Grand cross is representing the home and the career, and the me and the we. So I believe that as we start to really, how do I want to express myself in the world? What do I want to do to provide resources for myself? And am I willing to reinvent myself? Am I willing to see chapters that offer an open highway, or am I looking at my life in some ways as chapters closing and ending? Because as we experience the Mars and Saturn opposition, there could be that this could feel very tense, like, oh my God, history repeats itself and I never get anywhere and da 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 da. And in that moment, it's our opportunity to see, oh my God, here I'm going around telling that story again. Does that story serve me? Am I really moving things forward, or am I too busy looking in the rearview mirror? And the next day, we experience this grand cardinal cross, which gives us an opportunity to birth a new season in our lives, although it may feel tense because we will inadvertently be concerned about how other people will respond to that birthing. So I think it's a very, very epic week. I think it is a karmic crossroads. And I believe that, the soul has no gender. I believe the soul is energy. And I believe we come into this dense physical experience to play with that energy, to go under the veil of unknowing, and to utilize our body, our mind, our senses to create. So this is a very powerful time with that North Node representing a point of stretching, something we want to experience, something we really only know in concept. And the South Node is what we are used to. And Libra's South Node often gives up its power for the partnership. It can be overly cooperative, and in its challenging energy, it can be passive aggressive. So, we can see aggression on both sides of the Aries Libra axis, with the Mars energy being in your face and the Venusian energy being a little behind your back. And this week ending with this grand cardinal cross is an opportunity to say, what kind of cross do I want to bear? And if I start to align to what I believe will bring me happiness, am I not actually offering happiness and joy to everyone I know? So there we go. All right, let's go on to our readings. I'm going to start with our Cancers. I think this is their last week to start first, and then we go into our Leo energy. So let's see what the tarot card is for and happy birthday to all the Cancers this week. And I want to say this, if your birthday is this week, Cancer, I'm pretty sure you're experiencing a sun opposition, or because this is rising sign. So if you're, well, I guess it doesn't really matter if it's your rising sign. You could have a Cancer rising sign and it could be early degrees. Well, let me point this out because I'm messing in my head. I want to offer it this way. Any planets, personal planets you have in late degrees of Cancer, pay attention to them because they're making that opposition to Pluto, and Pluto's offering a gift. It may not feel like it at first, but it truly is offering a gift, and this gift isn't going to come around again for quite some time. So this breaking down of your historic chains that bind you are very powerful. And here we have the Strength card. This is a card of fortitude. It's a card of awareness where I know that gentility calms the beast. Wow, Sunshine Anya, that's powerful. That's really powerful. So you can have a great new beginning. Because I want to offer this, I really do believe that these planets reward us as we are brave in our actions. Because Pluto and Mars, in some respects, are going to hold a similar energy. And with Mars being the ruler of the new North Node, meaning Aries, there's going to be a constant series of crossroads over the next year and a half saying, are you willing to be braver and braver to step into your energy? Are you willing to have the strength and the fortitude, Cancer, to continue to move forward to what your inner voice is telling you? This infinity symbol above her crown, and it's a crown that is not a crown of thorns, but a crown of plenty. So a gentility through the process, a willingness to look at yourself as, how am I showing up? Am I being the brave energy? That this is a Leo energy. So am I being brave of the heart? Let's look what Spirit has to say. And Cancer, you're on your solar return. So this next year can really, on some level, bring in, the first word that came to mind is an awareness that we are fabulously flawed. And that is the beauty of the journey. It's not about trying to make sure everybody's happy, but sometimes seeing that joy is only as joyous as our ability to experience sadness and to know the contrast of the two. And I think that's part of what we're walking through as humans, is to see the ebb and the flow of the contrast and the propellant that some of our more challenging energies afford us, meaning they propel us towards our wants and desires. So Cancer, your first angel is Bridget. Look deeper into a situation. The second is Athena, offering you your own personal power and to your power expressed lovingly. Opal is about you're a child of God, and Rochelle is about following your heart. I'm going to tell you right now, it is 1,000,000 degrees and humid here, and my hair is going to grow into an afro by the time this show is over. So be prepared to watch me mess with my hair. I apologize ahead of time. I'm starting to sweat. Hi, Jenny G. Hi, Dan. Good to see you. Can I say hi to everybody? Hi, Jules. Hi, Small. Okay. Bridget is being joined by the swan, representing transformation and your intuitive gifts. Athena is being joined by the stag. Opal is being joined by the frog. And Rochelle is being joined by the love card. I really think this is a wonderful, wonderful spread for you. And I want to offer it this way because Cancer rising, Leo is your second house. And the second house rules so many things, but it's naturally ruled by Taurus and by Venus. So there is a sense of feeling of a building energy. And I want to offer this because this is an energy of romance of the heart and fortuitousness of the heart. Bridget is asking you to look deeper into your own personal transformation, as if you could say to yourself, I thought I was ready for love. I thought I was ready to experience myself, and my talents out in the world. And yet maybe I wasn't as ready as I thought I was, because I'm even more ready now than I was before. Because Athena is saying that there are leadership qualities within you, and it's time and an opportunity to express them, meaning your talents, and to really stand rather than to go back and forth in the what if. Am I sure I'm good enough? Am I sure I'm this? Looking at the idea that whoever is your audience will applaud your authenticity, not your perfection, because you are a child of God. And this opportunity that is before you to trust your heart, to trust what you love, to continue down the journey rather than looking at the clock. Oh my God, I'm this old, I'm this old, I'm this old, I'm blah, la, 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 la. That story will never get you anywhere, because here's an opportunity to truly transform the nonsense in your mind and to feel a sense of renewal. The frog represents the cleaning of the house. The house represents the mind. And I really do not, maybe it's my Aries rising. Maybe some of you are really fortunate enough to be able to, compartmentalize your hurts and your issues and put them somewhere and never think about them again. But I'm not wired that way. So not being wired that way, I get to ask myself repeatedly if that line of thought is serving me. And if I'm stuck in my Aries energy, and we're talking about Cancer right now, but I'm just using myself as an example because Spirit is encouraging Cancer rising to look into their transformation and to give birth to the new versus going back to the old. And there's a new moon in your sign tomorrow. Tomorrow's the 17th. Here is the love card. And here is Rochelle asking you to honor and follow the guidance of your heart. And I want to offer it this way, because if the guidance of your heart is one that wants an experience of partnership, to let time or to let other people's input or other people to tell you the viability of that experience is to negate your own power to create that experience. And if for some reason you've been walking through a period of time where you were unsure if you were going to really be able to find a relationship or that would thrive, that would play to your productivity, to feeling valued. And the same thing goes with expressing your talents. If you in the past you've been unsure of yourself, were you good enough? Now is a time to stop asking, are you good enough? And start to know that whatever your talents and your gifts are, as you stand in that loving energy, it will draw in the people and the dynamics to support the experience. And when it ends with Rochelle and love, I can't help but think with my Cancers that this is not just, the love of self, but the love of almost like a whole, I could take it into layers: the love of self, the love of a good partner, the love of a good family, the love of a good community, the love of a good state, the love of a good country, blah, blah, blah. So stay the course, have fortitude. And I want to offer this: if you get into a wobble, do your best to find a place that creates a gentle energy within you. Sometimes dancing it out is a good one. Okay, let's go on to our Leos. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Love to know how you're enjoying Venus in your first house. Mercury is in there now as well. Yay, Ava, welcome to the room. Let's see what your tarot card is. The Hierophant. Now we're looking at two major arcana cards. And did I say this was an epic week? It is. The first thing I see about this is my belief system. I feel like when I look at this, I feel like I have an opportunity to really look, what do I believe? The Hierophant represents, large systems of government. It represents the Supreme Court. It represents, obviously, religion, as we see this religious figure. There's also a Taurus energy to it, because on either side of his head in the throne, there's little bull heads. There's also this feeling of there's something about duality. When I look at this with the two gentlemen here that appear similar, yet they're slightly different, I feel like this could represent, for my Leos, not a complete abandonment of your old beliefs, but maybe a building upon your old beliefs about yourself, and now anchoring them into what I want to call a more aligned vibration. When I say aligned, I mean aligned to what you want to experience. I'm trying to stay away from terms that are good and bad, high and low. I'm trying to bring about an awareness that what appears bad or what appears low is often the catalyst for what is good or what appears high. So I'm trying very hard to redefine those terms. Okay, here we go. Let's look and see where the Hierophant, where are we in our beliefs? Because Venus transiting the house, Venus stationing, can bring so many things into play. Venus and Mercury both represent so many of our human everyday activities. And I find it so interesting that neither one of those planets have moons. And I mean, I don't know the scientific reasoning for it. I make an assumption, an ignorant human assumption, that it's because they're so close to the sun. But yet, here's, especially with Venus, representing relationships, I find it interesting that she doesn't have her own moon. And maybe that's why she's voracious for other people to validate her beauty, to, why partnerships are so important. Now, I know we're on Leo, but there's something about the belief system going on here. Venus rules our self-worth. If we're beautiful and people tell us we're beautiful, we feel beautiful. People tell us we're not, we don't. All right, there's the patience card, which is an observation of my own behavior, my own beliefs. Isabella saying the timing is right. Yes. Xana is offering a sense of protection. And then there's Chantal, the angel of romance. Okie doke, here we go. Venus is in the house. Mars was just there. Mars just left a little while ago, and Mercury's in. Mercury has stepped into the house. And now we talked about earlier that oh no, that was Mars. Sorry, my mistake. But Mercury is making a square to Jupiter. And there is a little weird Jupiter feeling with this Hierophant for me, because the Hierophant rules religion. So does Sagittarius. So does Jupiter. So let's look here. Patience is being joined by the Raven. Isabella is being joined by the Goblin. Xana is being joined by the Truth card. And Chantal is being joined by the Stag. I want to say this for my Leos. Not every Leo is going to have relationships that are love relationships. Pardon me, hitting the table. Venus also rules women. So you could have relationships and with money with Venus. You can have relationships with women, meaning not these friend relationships. Men have, an earthquake at my table because I just jam my leg up against it like a dumbass. But anyway, my point is this, because there's something going on where I think my Leos are elevating their belief system. I think there's been something that has been okay, but now I feel like I'm at a crossroads. And what am I going to believe about myself? The Patience card is an opportunity to observe, and the Raven is really, to me, not only coincidence, magic, and synchronistic events, but it's also this skull where the bones have been picked clean. And it's the head. It's not just any bones; it's the head. And here the Raven's ready to fly off. So I think there's been a transformation. And if for some reason you're experiencing any old situations coming back, like money's coming back up for you, your relationship, if you're married, that could be coming back up, or your relationship with your siblings. Mercury in Leo could be a sister if you're, because it's the females. But there's something about being aware of an old cycle where your ego is being tripped up, and it could potentially be a situation where, because you have a new sense of yourself, your reaction is not to give in to the ego being triggered, but rather to recognize it as edging God out. And then you invite God, source energy, your higher self into the situation. The truth is revealed that you are valuable, that you are talented, that you do get viable, and thriving relationships. They will be offered to you. Xana is an angel of protection, because the final position is the angel of romance, Chantal. And now we have the Stag, which is representing leadership. Spirit has shown me in my meditations that many of us are going to experience a polarization where the rest of the world, I say that generously, experiences a challenge because they sit in the unawareness of the higher self. And then those of us that have been practicing an awareness of our higher self will experience blossoming, experiencing prosperous energy in a time when others are not. So as we are aware of our own behaviors, and we don't criticize ourselves, and we allow our issues to transform into wisdom, and we see where in the past our ego has or our actually for Leo, it could be just, giving up your power in a situation, or having someone say to you, you're just too much. You're just too much. And you're like, all I am, I just want to love out loud, because I think it's important to play to this new truth, or to a deeper truth within you. And here we have an opportunity to display love in leadership rather than being stubborn. And we know that Leo is a fixed sign, but here I feel like there's a certain awareness that's coming forth. And I want to offer this too, because Spirit has shown me that many people are going to experience success and fulfillment and a sense of thriving in later chapters of life. And this very much could be why and how your beliefs are shifting. Because as you've been paying attention to your own limiting thoughts and you fly away from them, you see that you no longer need to be checked in as to whether or not you care if everybody thinks you're great. Maybe it's just, I care if I think I'm great. I stand by what I'm birthing. And then I feel a sense of protection for my own truth, for what is my truth. And in doing so, I draw more loving energy into me, and I stand in leadership for that. Okay, let's go on to our Virgos. I would imagine Virgo first house is already feeling like, let's get stuff done. That's exactly what I do. Meditate. I listen to and reading Abraham. I probably listen to Abraham a couple times a day, because I fall asleep to Abraham. I wake up to Abraham. I've been bouncing on my rebounder to Abraham, because most of the little videos are 15 minutes long. So it's perfect, because I'm just getting back into trying to strengthen my body. And that is something that the North Node in Aries will do. It will make us want to use our body, strengthen our body. Okay, Virgo. Wow, 3 major arcana cards in a row. Okay, huge week. The Wheel of Fortune. And for my Virgos, I think this is wildly important, especially since Saturn is opposing your first house. And I want to offer it this way, because Saturn is really not trying to mess with you here. Saturn is really asking you, in some respects, have you been overly dutiful? Boom, you got it. Have you been, playing to a limited version of yourself? Because so Saturn's opposing you, but Mars is in your first house, and Mars wants to pioneer into a new area. Now, this is what I want to say too for my Virgos, because it's never about the abandonment of the template of who you are. It's about building upon that, because if there was something unpleasant or issues, those are the manure that make your garden grow. And so here, while the world, there's a certain amount of Saturn energy for me here, because this is where Saturn rewards. We see the earth energy of Taurus. We see the fire energy here of Leo. We see the air energy here that represents, because it could be Gemini, any one of the air signs. And then we have the water here. Now, we don't always think of the water when we see the eagle, but that's the eagle is a totem for Scorpio. And we know that Pluto is in a yod with Venus right now. So I think for my Virgos, there's an opportunity, as you are semi-vulnerable to your own desires, to experience reward. Okay, so small wildflowers, just, I know I sound like a crazy person, so I'm just going to surrender to it. But every day when I buy my lottery scratcher, like I have to check yesterday's lottery ticket. I think if I win millions of dollars, I'm going to buy small wildflowers a home. So start putting some mojo on me, small, so I could buy you a house. The lottery yesterday was $853 million. And they say the payout's like $444 million. I can buy you all houses. All right, here we go. Virgo, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Sorry, I'm just being funny. I mean, I'm not being funny. I mean that. If I won a lot of money, I'd totally buy you a house. Nobody could take away from you. It'd be where you want to live. Make sure you have nice neighbors. All right, Virgo, let's see where the world is taking you this week. Bridget's asking us to look deeper. Ray is asking us to connect with our higher self. Grace and Antoinette is asking for compassion. And Maya is in a schooling energy. I just got a new fan. I can't stand a swamp cooler because they're too loud. I have the noise issues. I don't know. I have issues with noise. But I got a new fan and it was awesome last night. Okay, Bridget is being joined by the eagle. Ray is being joined by the fire fairy. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the hawk. And Maya is being joined by the partnership card. All right, for my Virgos, I really think that, when we think about Saturn opposing us, our first thought is, oh God, what now, right? What is Saturn going to do to me? I want to offer it this way. I know the opposition feels tense at first, but I'm starting to really think that it's an opportunity to build a bridge to a deeper energy that I want to experience. And I feel like the eagle is asking my Virgos to look deeper into your ability to receive reward, to allow yourself to experience it, because Ray is a connection to your higher self, to your team, to source energy, and offering an optimism, offering as if something is coming to the end of a cycle. It may have been super challenging. When we look at the Pisces Virgo access, we are looking at an access of health on some level. So things could be coming to a conclusion if there's been some challenges with the health. They could have also taught you something about your body, how your body responds to things. But overall, the angels are saying to have compassion for this journey you've been on, because there should be signs and omens coming to you that we're coming into the end of that cycle. And it could very well be, as the nodes shift, even though you're not necessarily going to feel them like they're not. This is how I wanted to put it. Virgo makes a natural trine to Taurus and makes a sextile to Scorpio. So as the nodes shift, there could be a taking advantage in some way, or a realization, or a capitalization on the trine energy between the North Node leaving Taurus and your Virgo energy, as if you learned something, you started to grow something, you started to build something, and now I can anchor it in a little bit. Because what I think you have been working on is your partnership with spirit to unravel the mind, the mercurial energy that enslaves you to this idea that service is actually giving up yourself for another human, because that is not what that is actually meant to be. The service, I believe, is to thrive, to have great health, to enjoy your work, to be prosperous, and then allow people to see that and invite them into the same experience, meaning following your joys, following the things that bring reward to you. And it brings a synthesis of all the elements into your experience. But part of you is going to have to be vulnerable to receiving that reward. That's why I think she's naked, but she's light on her feet. So overall, I think this is a good thing. If for some reason the opposition with Mars this week, Saturn and Mars, as it transits your house, as if you're trying to take action and Saturn is holding you back, it may be because you inadvertently are taking action based on an old patterned, imprinted thought. Recently, okay, I had there's a new person at the landlord. Okay, there's always new people working at the landlord's office. They don't keep people there very long. I don't know what they do over there, but apparently it's not that much fun. But anyway, there was a plumbing issue again, not in my apartment, but they had to come in here to find out it wasn't here. It was actually next door. When the new guy came in here, he said to me, "You need paint. You need like new carpet. I'm going to talk to the owners and see if we can get it to you." And I said, the first thing I said to myself was, that is what I want, and I don't believe it will happen. Now, somebody just commented about Abraham. Oh, it was Flamingo. In that moment, I realized I was in my pattern. My pattern is I don't get what I want. And I said, the universe brought this to me. I did not ask for it. And yet I'm undermining it by my history. So now I'm going to look deeper into spirit bringing me things. I'm going to push those thoughts away. I'm not going to think about it at all. And I'm just going to allow this to unfold because I've been watching my vibration lately, which is why I've been playing the lottery. Not to win the lottery, but to watch my vibration of being able to receive. So here I'm going to my Virgos. The reward is being offered to you. And I think if you look deeper and you connect with spirit, and you're saying to yourself, Spirit, thank you so much for giving me more and more experiences that fuel my optimism and give me the grace to have compassion for myself as I see those signs and omens, but I'm still walking through something that's a little challenging. Mars opposite Saturn, because I'm now coming into partnership with you and I am learning that I am a key component in the co-creation. And the more I believe something can happen, the more it does. So I started preparing my house to have new flooring and to have it painted. Now, I didn't go scrub the walls or anything, but I walk around it now imagining how will Lucky walk on luxury vinyl tile or whatever those floor pieces are. Will he be able to jump off the bed and not fall on his face? I just ask myself these silly questions. And I cleaned my room and rearranged yesterday with the idea that, and I felt myself starting to feel the joy of it. And when you feel the joy of it, you know your vibration is right. All right, let's go on to our Libras. Here we go, Libra. South Node is entering your house. Hey, Scardell, did you enter? Hi. Okay. Ooh, yay, yay. This is the King of Pentacles. This is a Taurus energy. This is a money energy. It is a prosperous energy. It is a, I want to say it's a rich energy, but I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about I feel bountiful in my home, in my work, in my community. And Venus rules Libra as it also rules this energy. So let's see what Spirit's saying, because as the South Node enters Libra, and it will very quickly, it's already like this week going to be 2 degrees away from my Mars. My natal Mars in Libra, and then my Sun is in Libra at 23 degrees. And while the South Node's going over my Mars, Pluto is going to be squaring my Mars. Now, I could be thinking a lot of scary shit, okay? I'll tell you. I could be thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have a heart attack, something bad's going to happen. But, when I think those things, it doesn't really resonate in any way where I can grab onto the fear. I feel like Pluto being my friend and Mars being the co-ruler of Scorpio, Pluto and Mars must have some sort of energy that cooperates with it. Now the South Node, Libra, is starting to enter your sign. And I think this is about really starting to re-examine what makes you feel bountiful, what makes you feel as if you have flow of money, makes you feel as if you're building things in a way that is sustainable for you. Yes, Stephen, it is a huge day. We have that new moon at the same time. So this is very exciting. All right. An interesting note, my sister has a Libra rising at 2 degrees. My Aries and Libra nodal axis, my node is at 3 degrees of North Node, 3 degrees of Libra. And I kind of have this weird thing because I just told you all about, I'm not going to have a heart attack, blah, 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 all that. I have more of an intuitive hit that somehow my sister that I haven't seen in 8 or 9 years or 7 years, whatever it is, somehow that relationship is going to come back for me to re-examine in some South Nodey way, which means a karmic way about hopefully realigning a vibration between us, which is out of balance in a big way. Because I don't want to karmically continue to live with this woman anymore. I want to get it done. So there could be a lot of things going on, Libra. So pay attention to a lot more than just my marriage or my boyfriend or my girlfriend or whatever. There's a lot going on in that house of Libra. Our first angel is Athena, asserting yourself. Francesca is about visualization. Archangel Raphael is about healing. And Seraphina is about happy changes to the family. Libra, Athena's being joined by the dragon. Wow. Francesca's being joined by the hawk. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the burden card. And Seraphine is being joined by the Grail Knight. One of the shadow sides of Libra is they don't like confrontation. And I've never experienced that because I have an Aries rising, even if I have a Libra sun. But I want to offer it this way, because one of the challenging things about the South Node transit through Libra is being in a dynamic where you are willing to express your individuality, to be a pioneer in the me of the we. And I think this is a realignment of your own value within your relationships. And this is now about asserting yourself lovingly and yet powerfully to express yourself without thinking of it as confrontation. I think inadvertently sometimes Libra thinks when the other side is not going to like what they have to say or how they're feeling, that alone is creating confrontation, which then sets up a big wobble in the dynamic between the two energies. So now I feel like as you see yourself as expressing something in a way that is actually creating harmony versus disharmony, that you will feel more successful in all your relationships, because Francesca talks about visualizing negativity and the hawk is talking about pulling my sight up above something. And if you think about it as a Libra, usually if someone expresses something out of balance for them, you will go out of your way to accommodate the situation, to create more ease and harmony and peace for the person. And why shouldn't that come back to you? Because I think on some level, Archangel Raphael is offering you a reconciliation of your own energy, but you find it burdensome because you're still overly concerned with what the other party, the other person, how it will land on the outside of you. And Seraphina is offering a happy change to your family, and the Grail Knight is offering the removal of illusion as you express yourself and the sacredness of your own heart. So one of the things that I've learned as I've done this work, because Spirit I'm not making predictions for people. What I do is I am invited into your energetic momentum. And your momentum starts with your line of thought and that focused line of thought. So when I go in, I see the probabilities of what you want to experience and how far along the journey of momentum you are. And sometimes Spirit would put some pretty crazy words in my head. There was one woman, I remember the word badger kept coming up, and I didn't want to use that word. And yet, as I argued in my head with Spirit about it while I was doing the reading, they encouraged me to use that word. So I found a very diplomatic way of setting up that portion of her reading, and she responded very favorably when I used that word. It was a validation. For my Libras, this strength and power is about expressing your truth, but also understanding that it's not just something that is going to be distasteful to the other side because it's your truth. It's something that as you express it can be related to. And very much so, you could find the other half or the other party involved in this communication wanting to extend a bridge to you or an olive branch to you or to create more ease for you. So as you, instead of imagine the pattern of how things have been, but rather allow new signs and omens to open up a space for you to communicate more authentically, to have your needs met, I think you'll start to feel more alignment, not just with the other people, but with your team on the other side as well. Okay, let's go on to our Scorpios. Are you happy, Scorpio, to get that South Node out of your first house? I would say yes. I feel like I've got so much energy in Scorpio too, because I've got planets in Scorpio, that I just feel like all the transits in my whole life are challenging. Yes, Ava. All right. Well, good for you, Ava. Enjoy the break. Okay. Let's look at Scorpio. Well, this could not be more scorpionic. We have the death card. This is not death. This is not physical death. This is the transformation that the South Node has offered you. This is Pluto rising like the phoenix from the ashes. When I see this death card, I always sort of notice that there is this little child sitting here in the foreground, and he doesn't seem to be the least bit concerned about this character that the others seem intimidated by. And I feel like when I look at it, we see the king is dead here, and there's a new religious offering. I don't know what he's offering. It could be, it sort of looks as if his hands are in prayer, but what I believe is this is a new beliefs in myself. So let's look and see where we're going with this. When I look at the writer who is, there's a hue, well, we imagine armor is very silver and very mercurial in its appearance, very metallic. Here, while we see the metal, we also see a very strong purple hue, not only in the saddle, but also, as I said, in the armor. And I feel as if this is indicative of the renewal that Scorpio is going through. Because when we think about the South Node in Scorpio, it's really a call to the North Node in Taurus to use my skills, to use my voice, to trust what I build is sustainable and that I can create my own sense of security. Our first angel is Adriana, saying she's leading you to the answers to your prayers, to your thoughts, your dreams, your intuitions. Astera is saying to reach for the stars. Maya is teaching you how to reach for the stars. And Serena is offering you financial serenity, material serenity. It could also bring about more fun, Stephen. Although I want to look at the United States, because the United States is a Sagittarius rising, and that makes Aries its fifth house. I kind of am interested to poke around in their chart, in the United States chart, because that could bring some stuff up of rather challenging nature. Adriana is being joined by the water fairy. Astera is being joined by the transformational swan. Maya is being joined by the sweet victory of the bee. And Serena is being joined by the eagle. Now, the eagle is a totem for Scorpio. We don't often talk about it. Astrology, we just, because of the idea that it's a water sign, we don't really talk about the Scorpio much. But I believe when I look at this, I feel as if the transformation may very well be that the structure in your life, the dependence on the government, the dependence on the authority, the dependence on the person with the money, the dependence that could potentially be offered. Sometimes it's not even an actual dependence, but something looming over us. It feels like that has died. And I feel like, while initially this religious figure seems almost vulnerable to the actions of this transformation, I feel like this boy is indicating that there is something wonderful to be had with this transformation. And Adriana is saying she's leading you to the answers to your prayers. And I think this could potentially be more emotional fulfillment, as well as a connection to your team. Now, I want to tell you this, you guys, I do this work every day, 24/7, it feels like, and I never feel a burning bush. I never feel like, there are beings in here. I feel like it is a constant series of trusting an inner knowing, trusting a subtle energy. And that might also be what's going on here, because I think it's a subtle inner pulling, inner knowing, because there is a transformation that's happening to you from the inside out. And Scorpio rules the occult. It rules other people's money, inheritances, taxes, stockbrokers, financial transactions of another kind. I can't think of how I want it, the stock market. But it also rules a deep, deep psychology. And if we pay attention to the laws of the universe, we know that we really do manifest on our emotional body, because our emotional body dictates our thoughts. How we feel and believe about something creates a focus. And sometimes that focus can be mad and resentful. But here, Spirit is offering you to reach for the stars and not to compromise, to allow your inner knowing to tell you that you are transforming from the ugly duckling to the swan. You're about to take off in some way. Maya, this last year and a half, has been giving you a reminder of how powerful you are and how lucky you are when you're aligned to your being energy. Because if indeed it has anything to do with money, it's coming. And there you could very well see an alignment with, if we think about the idea of Scorpio is your first house, then Libra is your 12th house. And as the South Node goes through your 12th house, there could be the potential that you yourself have come to a place where you don't necessarily need other people to validate you in the physical as much as you know you have a stronger sense of yourself, and that validation from people in the physical is more like a cherry on the sundae, and you're feeling a sense of serenity as you're connected with Spirit, and all your resources will be manifesting for you. And I want to say this very much so because it feels as if this is an emotional validation as well, as if somewhere in the last year and a half, the transformation that you, Scorpio, have experienced is visible on the outside. And now I feel like there could potentially be an opportunity to applaud yourself and give yourself a little bit of a pat on the back for the arduousness of your transformation. All right, here we go. On to our Sagittariuses. Oh, Ava, I'm giving you a virtual hug right now. All right, Sagittarius, well, look at this. Stephen just said he was hoping that he would get more creativity. And what do we have? We have the page of creativity here. We have the page of fire, the page of wands, where he's looking up and his cap almost, or his helmet almost feels as if it's aglow with ideas, with new inspirations, with new passions. And I want to offer this too, because when you look at the landscape, nothing is actually growing yet. All of the greenery is on the wand. So something is in its conceptual stages, starting to think about it, starting to muse about it. Let's see where we're going. Daniel, the angel of partnership and marriage, also the angel of history within partnership. Aurora says, don't descend. You will soon inspire others. We have Layla talking about your desires and connecting with Spirit. And Serafina is talking about a happy change to the home. You know, Stephen, while you may not be interested in having a child, many people may experience the North Node bringing in babies, bringing in new energies. They could be creative babies, but they could also be physical babies, as the fifth house rules the conception of children. Daniel is being joined by the wasp. Aurora is being joined by the spider. Layla's being joined by the dog. And Serafina is being joined by the trust card. Okay, so now I see this page of wands as the practicing of new ideologies. You know, Sagittarius rules philosophy, it rules diversity, it rules cultural diversity, it rules moving to foreign places, it rules publishing, branding, marketing, it rules business and commerce. There are new ideas afoot for you, but I want to offer it this way. In some respects, those of you that watch Abraham will maybe remember the story where Esther tells about Jerry. And Jerry wrote a book, and he used to tell his mentees, the people he mentored, when you have an idea about something, don't tell anybody about it. Not when it's in its infancy stages, because everybody will ask you the logistics, how, etc., and that can be a dampening energy. I feel as if when it comes to Sagittarius, your inspired ideas, whether it's inspired, I'm 45, I'm 50, I want to have a child. Don't tell anybody, because they'll just on it, and that's unnecessary. So I want to offer it this way, because Daniel rules history and partnerships, and there's a sting. And if indeed, fifth house rules romance, and if indeed you're inspired in new ways, or you've started dating somebody, or something happens for you, zip your lip and don't tell anybody else about it until it's rooted a little bit. Because Aurora says you're flying high right now, don't descend. And this is my relationship card. Once whatever gets into that web, it doesn't come out. And here's Layla saying, talk to God and the angels about what you want in the way of love, in the way of loyalty and sincerity. That's what this dog, and there's the family, happy family, and the trust card. So this can be on multiple levels, but it starts off, and this might be where that yod comes into play, Stephen, because the yod focusing in on Venus focuses on my talents, my self-worth, my beauty, my relationships. I believe that you're going to be offered a new idea, and that I believe that what I'm being shown here is I get to keep that sort of idea to myself right now, because I could inadvertently feel defeated by someone who loves me, but yet might be more logical, practical, more earthy than I am. When I tell the people, or when I have told people in my family in the past, when I started doing my work at home, I didn't market. I didn't want to sit at the computer sending out tons of emails. What I did is I put a movie premiere beam above my head in my mind's eye. I kind of swirled it around, and I said to Spirit, draw in the people that will best be served by my gifts and my talents. This settled me a bit. It alleviated fears, because I felt like when people came to me, there was some sort of pre-qualified lead going on. So here, I feel like your humanness will want to talk about your creative ideas, your creative projects. You're wanting to have a baby at 50, or you're wanting to, birth a new idea, or even move, do something pioneering. Again, this is, the fifth house for Sagittarius is Aries. So there's something about individuality here, and birthing that. And I feel like this is your opportunity, is to birth it and then let people find out about it later, once you've got some roots, because they'll be inspired by that. And your job right now is to be, connected to spirit, not to humans, in offering your intentions towards this endeavor. And then they will align the people into your experience that will support it, versus inadvertently pulling it under. Because here is a happy change to the family. Now, while this has a baby on it, and it could very well be babies if you're of that age, it also represents anything I'm birthing from myself. And this idea of trust is trusting that if I love it, if I think it's valuable, if I enjoy it, it is valuable. I don't need other people's agreements. Okay, on to our Capricorns, me goats, me little baby goats. When I win the lottery, I just keep talking like this, like I'm going to get a goat, because I'll be able to move into a place where I could have a goat. I just want one little goat, like a pygmy goat. I don't want it to get big. I want it to stay small. I want to have a little one of everything, like one chicken, because there's only one of me. But I dream of a little piece of land with my own farm fresh eggs and my own little garden. My Taurus moon has been all over that. Okay, here we go. Oh, sorry. Our Capricorns. We have the Queen of Cups. This is so interesting to me, because Capricorn, this is exactly what I think Pluto has been offering you, is a more nurturing, a more emotive experience where you're not just, enduring and plowing for others, but here actually feeling a sense of give and take and letting your emotional body spring up in a way that is about enjoyment and pleasure and fun. So let's see where we're going with this. Because we know that Pluto is in, the last degrees of Capricorn, kind of doing that final cleanup. And I really believe that those structures are not just the material structures in our physical world, but the material structural input or imprint that has been put on our inner world. And I mean that when my parents had a lot of issues with money, huge. Money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. You can't have that. My mother, when I was a little girl in grammar school, would be like, you can't have a birthday this year. We can't afford it. And she just wouldn't do a birthday. I'm scarred by those things still to this day. And for the last 60 years, I have barely cared about a birthday ever. Because my mom beat it out of me. You're not that special. Your birthday doesn't count. So this is where I'm talking about Capricorn. You're being lifted off an emotional imprint that is no longer necessary, and you're being freed from it, but it will not go away. It will always be part of the tapestry of how you've been woven, but it doesn't have to be focused on. Our first angel is Seraphina. Happy change to the family. There's Grace and Antoinette about compassion. There's Bethany about self-care. And there's Rochelle following your heart. Thank you very much. Okay. Seraphina is being joined by the cow, which is all about abundance and building, asking and receiving. I have Grace and Antoinette being joined by the hawk. We have Bethany being joined by the novice, and Rochelle being joined by the joy card. I got to tell you, I just love me, my goats. I know there's that whole dark side of Capricorn, but I always want to focus on the light side. I feel like there's so much here, and that Pluto, well, it has not been an easy transition. It's been a well-oiled, or I should say a thorough transition. We've gotten into the nooks and the crannies, and now all the cupboards, all the spots feel like they're clean enough, because this is an emotional, a self-care card. This is rules the sign of Cancer. And here we see Seraphina offering more happiness, abundance, and receiving. And I think this is an exchange of energy. This feels more like it's more an even exchange of energy versus an out of balance one, because this has been your opportunity constantly, is to have compassion as you have pulled your sight above what's been expected of you, and you've been practicing self-care. This is the card of self-care, and this is the unstable new beginning. And basically, if we think about Capricorn rules like military and being dutiful and doing things that are structured for a lot of other people. And now this has been about you. Okay. This transformation has been in your first house, and you've been starting to practice self-care. And that self-care is actually going to serve many, many more people in a much more profound, is the way I want to put it, way than you would have anticipated if you were actually doing what they kind of want you to do. I feel like a little bit of that baby goat running amok all over the farm, jumping on top of things. You're like, slow your roll, little goat. But I think that this is really demonstrating something, because at the end of the day, we're receiving so much more joy and happiness because you're learning how to follow your heart. And that is the true leadership. Then you build that in the material world. That is the invitation to others. And that's why I think I love Capricorn so much, because of all the signs, one of them, Capricorn, has the most endurance for discomfort. So that discomfort could be the fear, right? So here you are. Let's say you want to be an actor. I'm just like to use really crazy shit. And everybody around you is like, you can't be an actor. That's impossible. You're not special enough. You're not skinny enough. You're not young enough, blah, 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 blah. And that you as a Capricorn go, you know what? I'm just going to keep trying. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep auditioning. And then you get the part that absolutely is perfect for you. There was this show years ago with William Shatner, and it was a lawyer show. I can't remember what it was called. It was Candice Bergen was in it as well. But there was a character, and they used to call him Hands, and he used to walk funny with his hands on his, and I thought to myself, he was such a great actor, but his physical appearance was neither that of a leading man. He was kind of he was perfect for the character role. And what I'm trying to say about this is that this isn't about the idea of some old antiquated version of what you should be, but allowing your unique self, your unique expression to be part of a birthing of your dreams and your desires, and to know that that unique expression was grandly designed by you and source energy to facilitate that dream. I hope it makes sense what I just said. Okay, follow your heart. This is a big crossroads here, because that's very much what the Aries North Node move is going to be. Individualizing, expressing the individual, pioneering, recognizing resentment and where it's tripping you up. Okay, let's go on to our Aquariuses. Oops. Goofy goof there. Okay. Aquarius. We have the Hanged Man. Now, this is very interesting because the Hanged Man is very much an energy of a pause for illumination. There's an epiphany had, and this is an energy where this gentleman has not been sequestered here. The bent leg is not attached to the tree. We're not sure that his arms are even attached to this apparatus he's hanging from. There's also an association for me with the Hanged Man of Neptune. There is a sense of, in order to clear the fog, I've got to give myself a rest so that I can have an illumination. I've got to spend some time maybe alone, hanging out upside down, or I don't think this is a Uranian energy, but I do think it's sort of that a meditative energy of a pause from action so that I can can't find the right word I want to use, because it almost feels like it's a connection to a divine energy, but that divine energy feels as if it's an inner knowing versus an outside force. Okay, let's look and see for our Aquariuses, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Indriel, the light worker. The second is Rochelle. The third is Archangel Raphael. And the final is Isabella. Indriel is being joined by the partnership card. Rochelle is being joined by the risk card. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the wealth card. And Isabella is being joined by the hawk. So as I'm doing this, I think to myself, okay, Aquarius, Leo is your 7th house. Venus is traversing your 7th house. So is Mercury right now. And I'm thinking to myself that you are in some ways contemplating your 7th house energy. Now, it's not just romantic energy. It's not just marriage energy. It's also, we can superimpose, Leo and Libra together. So yes, there is a romantic energy on one level, but there's also a partnership with your own creativity, and maybe even a little bit of a push-pull between your uniqueness, Aquarius first house, and what the audience, the partnerships, the people around you might perceive as you're birthing this whole unique energy that's futuristic and sort of out there. And I want to offer it this way because Neptune is a very creative card. So if you have been stuck in some way with your own creativity, or if for some reason you've been perceiving your personal interests would be not quite as favorable to your partnerships, because Venus again is my my voice, my singing voice, my crafts, my hands, my skills. You play guitar, we've got this Neptune energy, the music of Neptune, the crafts of my fingers and my hands, and because Venus rules craftsmen, rules, carpenters and things like that. Because when I look at this Indriel, the light worker, and the partnership card, I felt as if it's a partnership with the epiphany. There's this a partnership with this idea that comes through, this sort of Indriel's a light worker. Indriel is an energy that is meant to shine its light on this earth. Aquarius, your seventh house is that of one that's very creative, very romantic, very pleasurable. And I feel like there's an opportunity for you to risk expressing your heart in a way that would be actually very healing for you and bring in potentially a sense of more peace and harmony and flow of not just resources, but also emotional resources. Because Isabella is saying, yes, the timing is right. And I think the hawk is giving you some signs and omens about this. Now, let me offer it, because I think the hanged man is not asking you to spring into action per se, but rather to allow yourself the process of inspired creativity. So for me, when I started this YouTube channel and I started, I was very much focused on keeping the audience engaged, producing things. And it became kind of an arduous feeling of what will they want? What will they like? Am I being normal enough? Am I going too outside the box? And it made me actually cuckoo. So Spirit said, stop everything and just give us a moment to inspire you. And what I realized is that I'd already built a career in my personal practice by Teri being Teri. And it was my opportunity now in what could potentially be a worldwide stage to continue to let Teri be Teri rather than fear the criticism. So somewhere along the line, Aquarius, this is coming into partnership with your own ideas, your own inner voice, your own sense of what is enjoyable and exciting for you to create, and then allowing yourself to start to birth that. But yet as you birth that, because when Pluto moves into your first house, wow, what could happen? So when you allow that to start to muse it in your mind, I feel like there will be a natural moment where you'll start to take action through an inspired thought. It could be, because I see the inspiration in the light worker. I see the inspiration here in the hanged man. I see the inspiration here in Archangel Raphael. And I know that I must take some kind of risk of putting myself out there. And that's what Leo is, a risk of the heart. So Aquarius, coming into partnerships. And if this is romantic, although there's no romantic cards in these spreads, then a part of that is to trust your uniqueness within relationships, your unique perspective, your sort of I don't have anything else to say except unique expression, to allow yourself to be who you are and to allow that to blossom and to explore that. And it will all play out just fine. All right. Now, we know the South Node is going into the sign of partnership, so there could be another thing going on there. But anyway, all right. Here we go for our Pisces. Now, I can't imagine Pisces enjoying this card anymore. The Lover's card. Pisces is naturally a couple. We see the two fish. But this Lover's card is also a card that represents our choices. And as we see the nodes and the new moon tomorrow changing signs, the choices that we make moving forward are our karma. I don't believe karma is, I'm bad, so something bad's going to happen to me. I believe that karma is really a line of thought that ends up kicking in the law of attraction, which is why it seems like something's always happening to me, because I'm always giving life to that idea. So somewhere for my Pisces, as Saturn is traversing your first house, your partnerships can very much come up. Saturn will ask you, are your partnerships sustainable? Are they aligned? Are they in a balanced ebb and flow? there's always going to be an imbalance. There's never 50-50, but the percentage of balance versus imbalance is important, because the flip side of Pisces is to ignore. Here we can see Archangel Gabriel's eyes are closed. Ignore some of the things that could be challenging down the line in our relationships, in our dynamics. So let's see what's going on here. Our first angel is Akasha, the teacher. The second is Vanessa, about faith. The third is Yvonne, about vulnerability. And Francesca is about focus and visualization. I think that the Lover's card is really much more about choice than it is about relationships and the vulnerability that when we make a choice. Because sometimes our inner knowing will say, this isn't a good choice, but the idea that we've been alone for a long time will make us make a choice that's counterintuitive to our inner knowing, because we let that human part of our brain tell us that, opportunities don't come around, blah, blah, blah. And this is important, to allow the inner voice to supersede that. Akasha is being joined by the butterfly. Vanessa is being joined by the horse. Yvonne is being joined by the movement card, and Vanessa is being joined by the queen. I want to offer this for my Pisces, because the Lover's card, as I focus on it being of choice, I want to remember that, lovers is not just partnerships. Pisces rules creativity. It rules dance, music, song. It rules time we spend alone. It rules health choices, the choices that we make when we are by ourselves. The choices of what we ingest. We know that the Virgo Pisces axis is one of health and mental health. So Akasha is the spiritual teacher, and the butterfly is the transformation from the caterpillar into a more beautiful and a more what appears peaceful journey. Because when we watch a butterfly, we usually feel a sense of it floating on the airwaves. And I believe what's happening is that now Pisces gets to make the choice of faith, moving in the direction of faith, connecting with connecting maybe even with Archangel Gabriel, who oversees these lovers. This is also the sign of Gemini, by the way. In ruling the twins. So it rules the mind, rules our everyday lives, but definitely feel like there's choice, because as you're vulnerable to the choice that serves you, to the choice that you make that you're unsure of, there's movement. And the movement comes not because you've pushed, but because you're starting to imagine yourself as a receiver. I know I probably sound like a little bit kooky when I say I think I'm going to win the lottery. I never, in my mind's eye, think I'm going to win $850 million. But what I feel like when I'm playing this new game with myself is a monetary vibration. It is me playing with my awareness of how I have been holding myself back in many ways from receiving more monetary ease. So as I've been playing this and playing with it, because Jupiter is hovering over my moon and Pluto is squaring my sun and my Mars. And so as I look at the astrological dynamics, I'm thinking to myself, this is a really tangible way for me to see my energetic momentum. So I think here, this is about Pisces really being aware of their choices, being aware that there is beauty to be had as I start to allow the things, as Saturn lifts the fog, as Saturn starts to bring forth those experiences that are saying, maybe this is not as sustainable as you thought it was, but as you shift, we'll bring in something very sustainable and you will just receive it. You will not have to effort for it, because I believe this is about Pisces renewing their faith. I feel like this horse right now feels very Sagittarian to me. Feels like I'm moving into a new direction and I'm offering to God an opportunity. I'm saying I've been in this human experience long enough to feel like I lack faith. So now I want to be vulnerable to the movement through spirit. And in doing so, I'm going to sit in quiet reception and be mindful of my thoughts and not judge my thoughts when they drift negatively, but rather just continue to realign. It's kind of like a meditation. You drift off, you notice you're drifting, and you're like, okay, focus on my breath again. Focus on my breath again. Okay, on to Aries. Whew. So much going to go on for the Aries energy with Chiron retrograding in Aries. That's going to be interesting, and you've already felt that for a while. So let's see. The warrior gets some rest. The knight needs some rest. Now, this is interesting to me because when I look at this knight is not only looks like he could potentially be sitting on a coffin, but I feel like he's aware of certain thoughts, certain habits, certain behaviors. Okay, you can see they're all right here, neatly placed. And then here, right next to it, is almost a version of what he wants to be. This kind of feels, well, it's stained glass, and we can look at it as we associate stained glass with religion. Here, I see these characters as representing a version of myself that I want to be. And I always imagine Aries never giving up the warrior within them, but rather transforming that warrior into a hero, into the pioneer, into a brave energy, into knowing how to use my body so that it serves me and it serves others. Because here, I believe that what's going on for Aries is there's an underbelly of thought in some ways. There's an underbelly of that I need to give this rest so that I can really allow this to grow. So let's see where we're going with this. Are those bacon strips? Somebody having some bacon? Love me some bacon. Don't eat it, but I love it. I used to love it. All right. Aries, our first angel is Vanessa. The second is Archangel Michael. The third is Aurora. And the final is Grace and Antoinette. Well, Vanessa very much goes with that Four of Swords. Rest so that we can renew our faith. Vanessa's being joined by the Truth card. Archangel Michael's being joined by the Frog. Aurora's being joined by the Cow, and Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the Eagle. This actually feels super good to me because I want to offer this. I feel very much, as an Aries rising, being very Martian, being very willing to share my opinion, especially in the past when I've not been happy. Now I take a second thought and I think about how I want to express myself. I alluded to this earlier in one of the readings because I think that what's happening here is this is giving this knight an opportunity to be more effective in his communication because as he is taking a bit of a pause, there's an opportunity to become aware of what has been sitting underneath, and now a renewed faith in my truth because I can express it in a new way. This is the releasing of emotional baggage because I've had the courage and know that I'm being protected to make the changes that I get to make. You know, one of the challenges sometimes with the human nature is that we look and we say, when that out there changes, I'll change. When I have more money, I'll be happier. When I have a friend, a boyfriend, or a girlfriend, I'll be happy. And the laws of the universe are actually work the opposite way. When I believe that I will be prosperous, prosperity comes. When I believe I will be in a balanced, loving relationship, the components start to show up in that direction. Because Aurora is saying you're flying high right now, Aries rising. Don't descend, because you will soon feel abundant in the exchange of energy between yourself and others, the asking and receiving. And it is because you have become aware that your compassion for the other person's journey is what is connecting you to a higher sense of yourself and your connection to the angelic realm. I want to offer it this way because the warrior is always sort of depicted when we talk about Aries in a harsh, aggressive way. And yet sometimes that harsh, aggressive energy is actually serving a bigger purpose. You cannot cut through something without a knife. and Mars rules knives. And if we're cutting through the nonsense of our life, the cords that hold our issues to us, sometimes those cords feel very thick and dense, and we have to use a more assertive energy to get through them. So I want to offer it this way. There is an opportunity for you to take a rest and to be able to identify what sits underneath, but also to have a sense of compassion for yourself and to watch your journey as you move forward. Because whatever you've experienced in your second house, Aries, as the North Node went through that second house and the South Node was in your 8th house of transformation, gets to get implemented as we move into this new energy, meaning the Aries North Node and the Libra South Node. And I think that the South Node in this particular case will be the erosion or the release of the toxic energy of passive aggressive behaviors, of feeling I don't want to be called the warrior, so now I'm going back and doing things a little bit under the radar. Every Aries has a different chart and expresses things a little bit differently. But one of the common themes is when we're not seeing movement, frustration sets in. And then when frustration sets in, we start to get a little bit more assertive. And I think all of that is an opportunity. This moment in time is giving us an opportunity to really pay attention to how we show up, and if we're being enrolling or engaging, if our issues are in play, or if they're just the imprint that we will always have that sits underneath everything. I hope that made sense. All right, I'm going to go on to Taurus. Basically just lost my train of thought because I saw something about food and I'm having my stomach growling. Sardines, huh? There's an interesting choice. Chicken stock and a can of sardines. Did you eat them together? Did you make like sardine soup? Ugh. I gotta say, it sounds a little nasty. Did you do that, Small? Because there's something interesting. I bought a watermelon. I haven't cracked it open yet. All right, let's look for our Tauruses. Let's see what's going on. The Queen of Swords. This is a mastery of thought many times, often of fairness, of extending the hand of diplomacy for our Tauruses. Let's see where we're going. Did you actually just eat the sardines? Like you just pulled off the top, pulled their little bodies out? Did you eat them like that? I think they're super good for like your skin or something. I can't remember, but I'm not very good with fishy stuff. Lucky would love sardines. Oh, you did, huh? Oh my God. Okay, I gotta laugh. Sorry. Taurus, we have Sonia, the team on the other side. Maya, schooling and education. Celeste talks about a shift in thought, and Serafina talks about happy families. Where did you learn to eat sardines like that? Did your mommy and daddy teach you that? Okay. Taurus. Sonia is being joined by the love card. Maya is being joined by the movement card. The fire fairy is joining Celeste. And the queen is joining Serafina. Okay, so we know that the North Node has been transiting. Your dad loves them. Great omega-3s. Exactly. Okay. All right. I want to offer this for my Tauruses because Taurus is another fixed sign. Taurus is, an earth sign, so it wants to see things built in the 3D world. But I think that this is an opportunity to start to master your thoughts and also to realize that things are fair. And in the fairness, all the efforts and all the work that you've been doing as you've been walking through this access of the North Node in your first house and the South Node in your 7th house, you are being loved and guided and supported by your team on the other side, because what you're working on, what you're manifesting is still somewhere in process. And while there is movement, it may not be as dramatically obvious, the movement in some way, because in the opportunity or the obstacle is you're learning about movement, and movement starts first with the shift in thought, and then we start to see it in the material experience, because every thought is two thoughts. The thought of the inspired thought, what I want to experience, and the second thought is the how will I get there? Is it viable? Do I have the resources? And oftentimes the human defaults to the more challenging side of the stick, and in doing so creates more momentum that way. So what's happened now is the angels are saying you've shifted into a more positive way of thinking. You've shifted into a more creative energy, and maybe even you're starting to trust that your team on the other side is creating movements, because if you're calling forth a new experience either in your home or place of employment, things are coming to you, Taurus. You don't necessarily have to effort. Your job, for lack of a better term, is to be aware of your thoughts and to align them in a very, very strong, in a very receptive way, because this ends with the queen as well. This queen is receiving, she is not efforting. And this happy change comes because you're starting to master this energy. It's not because of some material outside force that comes in that makes you feel more secure or more trusting. It's like you're trusting the inner process, the inner knowing. And I want to offer this too. I'm doing a show this evening for another YouTube creator, and I'm a guest on I can't remember their site. I'm going to put it up on my community board. But my point is, this is it. The focus of the talk is about your guides and about your angels and those that watch over you. And I feel like this is an applause from your team. They're sending you love because you have been going through a transformation of reaching more and more to use your crafts, use your skills, use your mind, use your voice to align with what it is you want to create and experience. And this is going to bring you resources. It's going to start to bring money. We know Jupiter's going through your first house, and Jupiter will bring bounty, but first Jupiter will realign your belief system. And in doing so, that will bring in more fun, literally more fun. Okay, on to our Geminis, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. This will be our last sign for the day, and then we will adjourn. I don't know if sardines are gross. I think it depends on where you live in the world. Because, there are people that eat fish for breakfast in certain parts of the world. It's just what we become accustomed to. Thank you, Jenny G. All right, for our Geminis, this Two of Wands is really a wonderful card, because for me, what it represents is this character is observing his world. He's created a certain amount of stability for himself. We can see because his ideas are anchored into this cement block, and yet he has new ideas. They're not quite formed, but there's a lot of excitement underneath. And here he holds the world in his hands. And we know when we go into the energy of the Three of Wands that we see the journey of manifestation, because we see the ships starting to come in, but they have not quite arrived into his physical experience. So for my Geminis, this is really about looking at your world and giving life to new ideas, new situations, new building on the old to create something new. Now, Mercury, your ruling planet, is in the sign of Leo. So this would be something that you would want to build something that would make you feel enjoyment through it. When I was younger and my parents were, the parental unit was coaching me, I got, work at Bank of America, get your real estate license. Neither one of those things seemed very palatable to me. So I decided I would get a temp job working in Hollywood as an administrator. And I ended up spending, 10, 12 years of my life working in Hollywood in one way or another. Got to experience a lot of productions, working on different shows. And I always said to myself, if I'm going to work, I want to do something I think is fun. So Gemini, that's where I'm going with this idea. Our first angel is Isabella. The second is Bethany. The third is Isaiah. And the final is Seraphina. Wow, Seraphina is really coming up a lot today. Well, the trout shouldn't have any poisoning. Isn't freshwater fish, they don't have mercury? That's what I always thought. Well, we'll put that in on my lottery list. A freezer full of rainbow trout and salmon that's in the back house refrigerator of your new property. Can you start putting that on your vision board? I could use the extra oomph. Okay. Isabella Gemini is being joined by the Joy card. Bethany's being joined by the Trust card. Isaiah's being joined by the Lady of the Lake. And Seraphina's being joined by the Focus card. Okay, so I want to offer it this way. I really believe that my Geminis are going through an opportunity to create something new for themselves. And it doesn't feel like it's a complete, ground floor creation. It feels as if it's been banging around in the back of your brain, at least for a while. And now is a time to move towards what you want to experience in the way of joy on an everyday basis. And we notice the 37 represents a 1. 1 represents our thoughts. We have Bethany and the Trust card. The Trust card is a 47, which reduces down to an 11, which is the master number of thought. And this is the card of self-care. So I want my Geminis to focus in on the next venture is something that you will enjoy, something that you find exciting, something that you find fun, Venus and Leo, because Isaiah is encouraging a new adventure, that you're being protected during it. And then we have the Lady of the Lake that's saying it's time to have the courage for this new venture, to take your life kind of by the horns, in the sense of you've probably been going back and forth between your emotional body and your brain telling you one thing and your truth in the middle. And the truth is that if you can describe how it feels in your everyday life when you're rolling through your life, how does it feel? What do I enjoy? One of the crazy things that I didn't know I was manifesting this at the time, but my last job had a 2-hour break in the middle of the day, which I found completely annoying, where they shut the chiropractic office and I had to sit around and twiddle my thumbs because it was, all the way in Irvine. Well, when I got lucky, I used to drive a half hour home, walk him for a half hour, and then drive back in that 2-hour break. And I'd be so annoyed that I would be like, Lucky, you know what? Pretty soon I'm going to get to walk you whenever I want, in the morning at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday, or maybe at 4 o'clock on a Thursday. And I would just start this conversation with him. He didn't know what I was saying, and I was full of piss and vinegar when I was talking about it. But that had a focus, and that focus actually ended up manifesting me working for myself and me being viable doing so. So Gemini, focus on the change that you want to see within your personal family. And I don't care if you're a family of one and a fur baby, because you're having an opportunity to start to create a whole new world. And some of it has already been mused upon. Some of it you already know what it is. And now your job, on some respects, is to focus in on the joy of how it would feel once you experience that trust in your own self and your own ability to nurture yourself through allowing new things in your life, rather than kind of maybe sticking with the old because it appears to be secure. And who knows what the nodal structure will do if that's too far out of balance. Okay, that's it for this week. I think I've talked enough. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank Small Wildflowers so much every week for being I just couldn't do this show without her. So want to say that, and come back this week. I'm going to do a video literally tomorrow about the nodes, and I'm very excited. I've got all my notes and my research done, but thank God I was so busy this week I didn't get a chance to record it. All right, everybody, I will see you next Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Have a wonderful week. If you'd like to book an astrology reading with me, please reach out to me. And if you have reached out to me, please check your junk folder, because I have responded to everybody, but I feel like I haven't got anybody responding back. And sometimes lately my emails are going into the spam or junk folder. So please check those folders. And Gita K, if you're still out there listening, please reach out to me. I have responded to your email as well. All right. I'll see you. Oh, no, it's not going to be live, Ava. I'm going to do it. I'm going to record it. but it'll be up tomorrow afternoon, and I'm in the Pacific time zone, so I'm hoping to get it up by midday. All right, everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful week. I'll see you next week, and be mindful because this is a really powerful week, and it ends with a grand cardinal cross. So forewarned is forearmed and is very powerful. Peace out, everybody. See you on the backside. Where's my cursor?